Swamiji, you're mute. Swamiji, you're mute.
ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवत् व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ नमो भगवते वैवस्वताय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वैवस्वताय
नृत्यवे ब्रह्मविद्याचार्याय
मृत्यवे ब्रह्मविद्याचार्याय
नचिकेतसे च
नचिकेतसे च
What we will do today is to sum up all that we have learned in the first three vallis, in the first adhyaya. And this prayer we just recited is the prayer that Acharya has written, where he calls Lord Mrityu as Bhagavan, the son of the sun, Vaivasvataya. Also calls him Brahma Vidyacharya. Normally, our impression when we talk about Yamadharmaraja, we associate with death, and all death associated with pain of separation. But Yamadharmaraja is also a Brahma Vidyacharya. Through his own efforts, has reached this exalted position, one of the devatas, and has also gained this knowledge, therefore in a position to teach Nachiketa. I don't think there's any other text where I have seen Yamadharmaraja as the teacher. But as Nachiketa says, who more appropriate than Yamadharmaraja to talk of what happens post the fall of the physical body? That was the initial question. What happens when the physical body falls? Our identification generally, all human beings, all beings in fact, so strong with the physical body that to think about what happens when the body falls, it's a very natural thing to happen. I think all of us at some point, particularly when we were children, have asked this question because we have seen elders, grandparents, granduncles, somebody or the other, pass away, and start wondering what happened to that person. The first encounter with death raises a lot of questions. Where did he go? And then some elder has to explain to them. And we find our own ways of explaining to suit our issues. In some cultures, they say he's become a star. Some cultures, they will tell you he's gone to Bhagavan. But the fact is that there is no individual he. or she or I. But at that stage, when we're still in the early stages of trying to figure things out, that is the key. So you want to know what happened to him or her. And then we have this famous Smashana Vairagyam. You go to that funeral and say, my God, now I've understood something. He was there yesterday, he's not there today. I know what happened. Maybe I will also go tomorrow. How should I manage my life? All those negative things I did, is it going to have an impact on me after the body falls? All these questions will come. And most people, after attending a funeral or a cremation, will make a resolution. I will be a very good person. I will not do anything adharmic. Smashana Vairagyam. Very temporary Vairagyam. It's like a New Year resolution. Doesn't get anywhere. But we do get these thoughts. Who better than Yamadharmaraja, if you have access to Yamadharmaraja, who is also a Brahmavidya Acharya, to ask really what happens? And Nachiketa had the wonderful opportunity to ask Yamadharmaraja. And there's a story behind it. Young boy. And the story has a lot of lessons to learn from there. For not only children, for all of us. He's a thinking child. He sees his father giving away dakshina, which are quite poor cows, basically, who past their prime. And it starts wondering, if you give away dakshina this type, would they not go to unpleasant places? Thinking starts from there. And then it says, am I also not a possession of my father? Look at the thinking of the child. And the immediate thought is, should I not be also given away to somebody as dakshina? And he keeps bugging his father. Who are you going to give me to? Who are you going to give me to? Or should be, whom are you going to give me to? In irritation, his father says, I give you to Lord Mrityu. Then again, the child exhibits tremendous thinking. Your word is final. Our entire society is built on words given, not on contracts, not on legal documents. And he reminds his father, where he recognizes that father said this in anger, he reminds his father, once you've given your word, you can't back out. And he quotes the parampara. Remember your ancestors. They didn't go back on their word. Lord Dasharatha didn't go back on his word. The Pandavas didn't go back on the word. They could not. Although that led to a lot of issues in their lives, problems. So even though the father had said this in irritation, the child insisted that the word should be kept. Pitra Agnya. All this indicates his thinking, his understanding of the fact that traditions are important. In our culture, traditions are given a lot of important position. 1, 2, 3, 4 generations before, children didn't dare question a tradition. Modern day thinking encourages children to ask why. Nothing wrong with that per se, if the parents are ready to answer correctly. In most situations, the parents are not. So he also talks about tradition. He understands the value and importance of tradition. And he tells his father, even though you said this in anger, remember your ancestors, remember all the Sadhu Purusha of the current generation. Nobody would back out from the word. With that, the story shifts to Yamaloka. This, I suppose, one has to take as part of the Akhyaya story. There also exhibits enormous understanding. He's been sent to serve Lord Yamadharmaraja. And he says, I will not do anything without formal permission from Yamadharmaraja. Yamadharmaraja is not there. Gone on his rounds. He waits. He doesn't eat. He doesn't drink water. For 3 days and 3 nights, he waits. Again, the lesson to be learned is, in our culture, Atithi has so much importance. Particularly when the Atithi is a Brahmana. Unfortunately, the word Brahmana has been given a twisted meaning. A Brahmana is one who pursues the knowledge of Brahman, who is qualified to pursue the knowledge of Brahman. Such a person, as an Atithi, becomes extremely important to be treated well. Although Nachiketa has come there to serve Yamadharmaraja, when he's come there, he's still an Atithi. Again, something we learned. We don't do anything. We don't eat without feeding some form of Atithi. So Yamadharmaraja offers him 3 boons, one for each night he was there. These boons are also interesting to analyze. See, when you pray to Ishvara, you're all already very knowledgeable. We've been attending Shravanam for a reasonable amount of time. What should you pray for? What should you ask for? If Lord Bhagavan were to appear directly in front of you, I'm saying this because we are not yet jnanis. If you're jnani, there's no question of Lord appearing in front of you. Because you are the Lord, not the Sharira. You and Lord are not non-different. But if the Lord appears and I'm still struggling to figure out what it's all about, what should I ask? You can ask for very many different things. Even every day when you pray to whichever form of Ishvara that you pray to, what is your prayer? If you understood, really there is one possible prayer. Please help me understand idea of moksha. Then it can be no other prayer. But having said that, that knowledge of moksha, moksha jnanam, has to arise in the buddhi. Buddhi meaning the antakarana. In the antakarana, if it has to arise, the antakarana must be ready to receive that knowledge. I can pray to Ishvara. Please help me understand moksha jnanam. But if my mind is not ready, if my antakarana is not ready, even Bhagavan can't give you that knowledge. So, while I pray for moksha jnanam, I can also pray for getting my mind ready, manashanti. And I know that there are many things in the world, in the Jagat. I am not yet such a vairagi that none of them bother me. There are many things that bother me still. So I pray saying that those things that bother me, please eliminate them. Help me eliminate them. When you eliminate those, my mind is in a better situation, better position to absorb and assimilate that knowledge. Now, in Nachiketa's case, he is asked, he's been given 3 vara. The first boon he asks for is very much in this loka. May my father recognize me in the same form when I go back. He assumes he will go back. He assumes he'll have the same form. He assumes that his father will see him and be happy. That is what I was asking. Very much part of this loka. Because if his father is disturbed, he knows he is going to be disturbed. Just to all of us. Why do I pray for everybody around me? Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha. Because I know for sure that if things are unhappy around me, my mind will be not at rest. So his first boon is ihaloke. The second boon, he talks about paraloka prapti. He is probably still figuring things out in his mind. He is probably still not figured out that Svargaloka ityadi are not eternal. So paraloka boon. How can one get to Svargaloka? So the first one, as I said, not only is it here in this loka, but it's for him individually. And paraloka, maybe for him, maybe also for everybody else. Once the system is known, how to reach Svargaloka, available to everybody. And the third is more beautiful. Like I said, his question as a child in the mind is, maybe he's seen people die, his own elders, grandfather, grandparents. and started wondering where have they gone, what happened. Only yesterday I was talking to him, he gave me a chocolate yesterday. Where is he? What happened to him? For the third bone, he words it like that. And beautiful, if you see the way it is developing, his first question on the third vara is what happens after death? He's probably asked a lot of elders, nobody gave him proper answer, because nobody really knows. Like we do, when children ask us, what do we tell them? You have to tell them something. So we try and find an escape route. Now he's got Yamadharmaraja, he can't find an escape route, he has to tell him. But he knows this knowledge is not easy, and we've been reading in the later chapters, later Vallis, that this knowledge is extremely difficult to absorb. Knowledge itself is not difficult. Knowledge is pretty straightforward. It's obvious. But it's very difficult to pin it down as far as one's own thinking is concerned. See, Yamadharmaraja understands what he's trying to do. This child is asking about what happens post the physical body's dying. He thinks, how can a child understand this? Exactly the way we think when our children come and ask, grandfather, that day died, what happened? Where did he go? And we don't know what to tell him. Not maybe even understand, but what do you tell him? And here, somebody like Swamiji had very clear thinking on this. He said, don't deviate from the truth. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't give some odd explanation. Tell them. But Swami, they may not understand, their children. Doesn't matter. Let the seed be sown in their head. Sooner or later, they will ask questions, they will experience more things, interactions with the world, and they will start to understand what you're saying. But don't tell them something which is wrong. Yamadharmaraja also doesn't want to tell Nachiketa some wrong information. At the same time, he recognizes that to tell him the truth about the reality of life, about Atma, about Brahman, in a way that he will understand is not easy. I mean, forget about the fact that Nachiketa is a young boy. He may not understand, but equally tough for a teacher to tell a young boy. A young boy who's not had real interactions with the Jagat yet. So the teacher is in a dilemma. What does the teacher tell him? In a way that the child understands it correctly. He doesn't want to tell him that. He is not sure Nachiketa is well prepared. So he looks at this third boon, which is for moksha, and tries to tell him that, look, this is not something that I will be able to teach you and you will be able to grasp. It doesn't say it in as many words, but there's a thinking behind. Really, that is the other important thing in this, When you ask Ishvara for something, in fact, when you ask anybody for something, how do you word your request, your prarthana? If you ask somebody for something they're not capable of giving, you put that person in the dilemma, you put yourself in difficulty. At the same time, you want to ask something which is the highest that the person in the current capability and position can give you. You don't want to meet Bhagavan by accident or by design and ask, Bhagavan, my favorite food is Alfonso mango. Can I have 1 kilo of Alfonso mango? Alpa. It's as many of the prayers, many of the things we ask Ishvara is like that. Even when you say, give me a lot of wealth, it's like that. You should know what to ask, how to word that. Therefore, when Bhagavan says in the Gita, Pariprashnena, the question has to be worded in such a fashion that you get the right answer. It is not only that the person answering the question only his responsibility. Your responsibility to ask the question in a fashion which makes it possible for the person to give you the right answer. An answer that you can understand. This also is demonstrated in the first Valli itself. Yamadharmaraja tests Nachiketa. Nachiketa passes all the tests with flying colors. Then Yamadharmaraja accepts that Nachiketa is ready. Then he introduces two technical terms, Shreyas and Preyas. By the time we enter the second Valli, Nachiketa is no more asking for any alpa. So in this whole process, in this Valli and in the second Valli, the Shastra brings out the glory of this teaching. How utkrishta it is. How superior this is to anything else you can think of. To the teaching, to the teacher, and to the student. Very clearly, not everybody is in a position to ask the right questions because they're not ready. And not every teacher is able to give you the right answer because they are not ready. Yamadharmaraja introduces two technical terms, Shreyas and Preyas. If you look at the three boons that Nachiketa asked for, the first and the second will fall into the category of Preyas. Incremental growth. They are growth. Incremental growth. Even if it is multiples, it is still incremental growth. Because you're missing the point. Whether you go from the current position to 10 times the current position, to 100 times the current position, or 1,000,000 times the current position, it is still incremental. So anything anybody asks for, ihaloke, paraloke is all only prayers. There is nothing else. Most of us are unable to think beyond that. Our prayers, therefore, remain restricted to prayers. So Yamadharmaraja says, looking at the first mantra of the second valli, Annat Shreyo Anyadutaiva Priyaha Te Ubhe Nanarte Purushagam Sinitaha Tayoho Shreha Adadanasya Sadhu Bhavati Iyatirthadya U Preyo Vrinite. These two, everything comes under prayers. Ihaloka, Paraloka, everything comes under prayers. And what we talk about Shreyas is completely different. And being completely different, the ones who ask for prayers, now we understand why so many people only pray for prayers. They are stuck with samsara. Every prayer granted, which is a prayer's prayer, only adds to the binding in the samsara. The one who asks for Shreyas, it's a very interesting thing. When you start this quest, you don't even know what is Shreyas, what is moksha. You have a vague idea. All of us are in the same boat when we start this quest. And then we form some idea, like Nachiketa, a wonderful example. What happens after death? That's his question. Some people say it continues. Some people say it doesn't. Vichikitsa. There's doubt. We are still trying to figure out what is this Shreyas, what is moksha. And we hear words like there's no more birth and death. It doesn't mean anything. When you start this process, words like that, but they have to use those words. Then the immediate thought comes to the mind, oh, that day I went to that guy's funeral. If I gain this, I won't have, still I'm talking about I, the Sharira. I won't have to go through this. I will be free of this. Aha, I am going to live for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. No, that's not Shreyas. Error is elsewhere. And we don't know. The error is still entrenched in us. So these two are completely different pursuits. Anyat Shreyo, Anyadutaiva Preya. They are both so different. They're not the same thing at all. It is not like saying one person asking for 1 million rupees and another fellow asking for $10 trillion. Not like that. It's the same thing. So the two, he says, are different. But both, Manushya has a choice for both. You can take either one of them. You can't take both. You can't get Shreyas and prayers. Although I tell you, I think a smart prayer would be, help me gain moksha jnanam and make the process smooth by helping me gain manashanti. and make it comfortable by letting me have Dehadi Laukika Sukhangal. What constitutes all that? We'll go into that later. But strictly speaking, once you have understood moksha, a person has understood moksha and is asking for moksha and has prepared himself or herself thoroughly, then the others don't have any meaning. So one has to consider both Shreyas and Preyas very carefully. And once that discrimination is clear in the mind, one would never ask for anything other than Shreyas. The transition is, Preyas is for what I consider the Sharira and whatever is in the Sharira. This Karya Karana Sanghata, body, mind, sense complex. May I be healthy, may I be 2 inches taller, may I be better looking, may I have a nice bass voice, may I have a sharp buddhi, may I get invited to the biggest forum, may I win Olympic medals, whatever. Or may I go to Swargaloka. All prayers. Which is what people generally choose. Even after studying for quite a while, you examine the prayer that you say every day to Bhagavan and examine it. What am I praying for? If I'm praying for anything other than moksha, I have to do more shravana and more manana. Examine what is it. Is my prayer predominantly prayers or shreyas? Here is Nachiketa, who has asked for 2 praise boons. And he now wants that Atma Jnanam. And Mother tempts him, look, I have the capability to give you all of that. Long life, healthy life, all joys that you can get from your senses. I'm giving you all that. And you're not taking it. But you know, somehow the connection is there in the mind saying that if I go after that, I will lose sight of Shreyas. If I don't lose sight of Shreyas, if something comes my way, I'll take it. But if I go after that, I will lose sight of Shreyas, moksha. He knows that. And how do you gain that? You have to find a teacher. And there it says very clearly, you have to go to the right teacher. People who are self-declared teachers. I know everything. Are dangerous. Swayam dhiraha panditam manyamana. Because they are like blind leading the blind. Ande naiva niyamana yathandaha. This knowledge is not available even for hearing for bulk of the human population. Why do I keep saying that all of us, being born human, we saw it in Vega Chudamani in the beginning sections, and having been born in a situation where we have access to this knowledge, We are so far ahead. Of most of humanity. We, of course, continue to pray for humanity as well. May others also get it. But most people don't even access, they can't even hear this. And even if they hear it, they don't get it. Because they're not ready. You have to have yourself ready and a Kushala Bhakta, a teacher who can explain this to you the way you will understand it. Only then there's a possibility of gaining this knowledge. Because Ananya Prokte Gatiratra Nasti. You can't get it simply by logically reasoning it out. All logic and reasoning relates to only what is available in the Jagat as objects of senses. Dharmaraja himself tells his story, remember. I took this position after a lot of effort. This position is also prayers only. And is another devata. But obviously, Yamadharmaraja had access to this knowledge, pursued this knowledge, and has gained that knowledge, and therefore the status of being a guru. So he tells his story as some sort of inspiration for Nachiketa and for all of us. Anything that he says to Nachiketa is valid and applicable to all of us. And very openly welcomes Nachiketa, saying, you've shown that you're ready for this knowledge. You have the Vairagya. You also have the Viveka that there is something very different from all the prayers wishes. The difference, like I said, is if you go after any prayers wish, including the highest possible of loka, you will definitely lose moksha. Because focus is there. But the beauty is the Shastra doesn't tell you don't take those. It says don't focus on them. Don't have Krishna to go after that. Understand your Vairagyam. Keep moksha steadily in front of you. And in the process, you get something which benefits you in the short term, gives you some short-term joy. Take it. But that's not what you're seeking. What you're seeking is Ananda Swarupa. No, there is no such thing. End of story. I'm going to go after gaining more wealth, more health, more fame, more name, everything. Because I have not understood this. Good luck to you. What do you mean, good luck to me? Pursue that, but stay within dharma. Do what you have to do. See what Vedas tell you, how you should conduct yourself. Within those limitations, do what you want. Try to gain what you can. Sooner or later, that will give you enough punya to change direction, to change course and start looking for moksha jnana. That's why when people who are great bhaktas, who have taken on to Carnatic music, for example, and really try and reach out to Ishvara in the form that they can reach out to, don't discourage them. Allow them to do that. Every text tells you that. Then when Dharmaraja says, I have seen that you have the capability, despite your age, you have shown enormous maturity, enormous vairagya and viveka and clarity of thought. You are an adhikari. You are looking for moksha, therefore you're a mumukshu. Even if you are struggling to express that in words that you can express. Hearing all this, when Yamadharmaja praises Nachiketa, praises the teaching, talks about the phala, Nachiketa's mind is working. He rephrases his question. By now, with all the inputs that he's got from Yamadharmaraja, he's able to relook at the question he asked to begin with. What happens after death of the body? He changes his tack completely. Hey Bhagavan, I want to know that which is not contained by dharma and adharma. What a statement to make. Dharma, adharma belong to the Jagat. Remember this. Dharma, adharma, jnanam, ajnanam, anandam, ananandam, everything belongs to the Jagat. I want to know that which transcends these. Every phala that I can get belongs to the Jagat. Dharma, adharma, anyatra dharma, adharmacha, anyatra adharmat. And anything that I can gain by doing, which is the phala, that all belongs to the Jagat. There is nothing more than that. Anyatra asmat krita kritat. That is what? Dharma, adharma, doing, not doing, kartritvam, akartritvam, all that is within this Jagat. Space, time, everything is within the Jagat. Anyascha bhutascha bhavyascha. Past, present, and future belong to the Jagat. Now here, it's a beautiful way of expressing the same thing. I want to know what is it that transcends dharma, adharma. What is it that transcends time? What is it that transcends every object? What is it that transcends any space? That can you explain to me? What you see transcending all of these and therefore not dependent on any of these. Yattat pashyati tadvada. Explain to me the nature of that which transcends all this. And then the answer, Yamadharmaraja, is so concise and so clear that Bhagavad Gita takes it lock, stock, and barrel from there and puts it into Bhagavad Gita. Let's look at those verses which in the second Valli. Yasya brahmascha kshatram cha ubhe bhavata odanaha. For whom all this categorization is like food. Mrityu yasya upasechanam cha ka itta veda yatra saha. His answer to Nachiketa's question. And then he says, Ritam pibanto sukutasya loke guham pravishto parame parardhe chaya tapo brahma vido vadanti panchagneyo ye chatrana chiketa. That knowledge which has entered one, those who invoke Nachiketa's fires, not only does it give you Swargaloka, but also gets you ready. And how? Either what is it? One is says, it's a brahmachakshak samcha ubhayodana. Sarve Veda yat padam amananti tapam sigum sarvani cha yad vadanti yadichanto brahmacharyan charanti tatte padam sangrahena bravivi. In short, this is Om. Fully loaded, has everything. Om ityetat. These are verses which really the Upadesha, and therefore taken, like I said, directly into the Bhagavad Gita. This and this one. Etadevaksharam Brahma, etadevaksharam param, etadevaksharam yatva, yo yadicchati tasya tat. This Omkara alone represents both Saguna Brahma and Nirguna Brahma. So all my prayers I can ask simply by meditating upon Om. This Atma, this self, sure survives the death of the body. This is never born, never dies. And that Atma is I. Na jayate mriyate va vipashchit. In Gita it says kadachit. Na ayam kutaschinna bhavuva kashchit. Ajo nitya shashvato yam puranaha. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Direct answer to his first question. It's not something which will be destroyed when the body is destroyed. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Never born, never dies. So again, go back to the question that a child might ask you. What happens when the body dies? Body's nature is like that. It'll be born, it'll die. But the I does not, is never born and therefore never dies. It is not something which has a cause and therefore is a karyam, no. Nor is it something which changes because it produces a karyam. Like that, these verses are taken. Anta chen manyate hantum, hataschen manyate hatam, ubhautau na vijanitah, nayam hanti na hanyate. Taken verbatim and put in the Gita. Anyone who considers himself as karta or somebody who makes others do wrong. Ubhautau na vijanitah. Na hanti, na hanyate. Atma, Brahman, I does nothing. Now, to understand this, starting with saying that, look, the whole Jagat is there. I can see the Jagat, I can feel the Jagat, I can sense the Jagat, I perceive the Jagat. Okay, the I that you're talking about, and the Jagat which you say you see or perceive, both belong to Mithya. Within that act, anything can happen. Like the person who does all the experiences in the dream, wakes up and recognizes that only as belonging to another order of reality. This Atma, the self, Brahman, not limited by anything. Smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. It is there, unlimited by space. Therefore, whether in this Sharira, some other Sharira, between the Shariras, is the same thing. Only when one recognizes this can one hope to gain moksha. See this in and through everything. The Jagat itself is not a real vastu. And these couple of other verses which describe what may be called properties. These properties are negations only of Brahman. So by the time we finish the second Valli, Brahman, Atma, I has been described. This then goes into the third Valli, because all of these sound like paradoxes. They are paradoxes when looked at from within the Jagat. So he talks about the two perspectives, the Paramarthika perspective and the Vyavaharika perspective. We will look at that and continue this summary in the next class. And we'll also, there are a few questions, not many, which we'll also take up in the next class. In the meanwhile, if anybody has any other, because we now have a summary, any other thoughts that come, please share them. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Hari
Harihi Om.
Om.